All right. Feel like I'm live now, which is great. Hopefully, we have a pretty good connection here, but I'm going to put these on just in case. Okay. So if you heard that notification, that is me informing all of you that I am now live. So hope you guys have a chance to hop on. Going to be answering some cool stuff tonight. Um, and let me tell the Facebook group before we get started. Give me a moment on that. Okay, so about to post that now. Okay, so it's been a cool week. We're really rounding the corner towards the last part of the year. Um, as far as Chicago, we're in a situation where it's going to start getting cold soon. I think today is 70, but it's all gloomy and rainy. And there's been some days in the 60s. In some parts of the country, now I'm a weatherman, but in some parts of the country, it seems like you guys are getting your second summer with like 80-degree temperatures or something. I bet we probably get 1 or 2 more days like that here before it goes down for the next 6, 7 months or whatever it is. But it's great to have you guys on here. I'm gonna wait a little bit for people to start pulling in. But again, as always, there's some pretty cool questions that I'm going to be answering today. I'll just sort of say what they are right now. First is, when did you realize you wanted to start a call center company? What did you have to do on a day to day while running your call center company, and how many hours were you working? And then, how many receptionists did you have, and how did you gauge when you needed more? So, um, I think those are pretty helpful things. And for those of you that are starting to hop in, when you do hop in, just say hi, announce yourself, and I'll say hi. As it is with these things every single week, again, I have questions that I come prepared to answer going into the call, but my main purpose is to answer the questions that come up live. I prioritize answering those because you guys are here. The reason I'm doing these live is to be able to interact with people that want to sort of ask the questions you might have been trying to figure out, but you haven't been able to figure out the answer to yourself during your due diligence or during your peak of curiosity or whatever. Um, I'm still trying to wait a little bit longer here, but let's see, it's 6:15 my time. Probably gonna stay on for about half hour or so today. I'll go over for a bit if it turns out there's some people that pop in and have some questions. Um, and again, I'm here to help. So let's see, it's about 4 minutes in. At about the 5 minute mark, I'll go on to answering question one. I guess before I do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we've got going on. Um, you know, oh, hey, man, I'm saying it right when I say Kezia. Um, Kezia or Kezia from South Carolina. Good to see you on here. Um, whatever questions you have, feel free to ask. Is it Kezia or Kazia? Kezia. I'm gonna go with Kezia. Kazia. Kazia. No, it can't be Kaz. With the E, it can't be Kazia. Kezia. So Kezia, welcome on here. I appreciate you being here. Um, okay, so uh, let's see. So yeah, okay. So it's the 5 minute mark now. I'm gonna start answering questions again. Kezia, I have three questions that I've already been prepared to answer. But if you have any questions that come up or any follow up questions as I'm talking, feel free to ask. Uh, and I'm right now it's about 6:17 for me, and I'll be on for another half hour or so. So the first question that came in that I wanted to answer was, when did you realize you wanted to start a call center company? Um, so that's a good question. For me, it was actually pretty simple. I stumbled into it. I had a cleaning company. I've told this before. I had a cleaning company, and I was running the cleaning company for about a year. We were hiring out different contracted cleaners to, clean the houses of the client that we landed. We were doing probably around 150 houses a month at this point, and getting to the point where um, there was a decent amount of call coming in that I didn't feel like handling. And my dad, my partner in that business, didn't feel like handling. So we started to look into some options in terms of answering. And, on one hand, there was obviously some options available. On the other hand, none of them particularly spoke to me. And then on the third hand, that I don't have, um, being entrepreneurial and idea minded, I saw an opportunity. I was looking at what I was being presented with, and I knew I had this need, and I knew there were other businesses that would have that need. For whoever just hopped on, feel free to say, hey, what's up, Lauren? How you doing? Good to see you on here. Um, so we got to the point where we were sick of answering the phone, and I saw some opportunity in potentially solving my own problem. Right. So again, I knew there were other people like me that would probably have this issue. I was in a Facebook group with a bunch of other cleaning business owners, and like every week or every few days, someone asked, "Hey, how you guys getting your calls answered? How you guys getting your calls answered?" And frankly, it was probably all of that that got me to look into an answering service in the first place. So, um, okay, so that's a good question, Kezia. She's asking, did you know everything you know now when you started this business? The answer is I knew absolutely nothing. And I mean zero. I really didn't know anything. I knew a little bit from a general business sense because I was running one. So that helped. But I knew nothing about the call center space. Uh, my initial thought when I was going to start this was, and I'm not a computer programmer, I'm still not, I never was. I thought that I'd be able to use something called Twilio and sort of hack, like about 20 lines of code together that pertain to different functions. Like there was a code that you plug in uh, for, allowing the agent to answer a call. There's another one for outbound calls. But, I realized pretty quickly that that was going to be impossible. There was no way I was going to be able to just build my own call center software without even knowing like how to upload a website properly. Like it was such a crazy thought. So I knew nothing. I didn't have any mentorship. There was no one like me. And Casey, I'm not sure if you've heard about the course already, but um, obviously my course didn't exist, and there aren't any other courses on the market even now, other than mine, that cover this subject. So we went in completely dark, and we obviously made it work. We made a lot of mistakes, and it took some time. And the big thing is that, especially in the middle, there were things that were a lot more expensive than they would have been had we known what I know now. So yeah, I didn't know anything, and we figured it out. So again, why did I know that I wanted to start this in the first place? Uh, Again, we were in a situation where I knew people had this problem, and so I was like, I want to go about, figuring out how to solve this. And so that was in October of 2014. 2014, and ended up setting a launch date of January 1st of 2015. And we launched on January 1st, 2015, and then eventually we got acquired in October. Man, it might be like a couple days from now, like almost to the day 2 years ago, the company was acquired. Casey, I did not get a grant. I didn't have much money though. Day one, I was in for $500, like all in. And the most money I was ever in was about 2 months in, I was about $3,000 in the hole. However, it wasn't like, just spending $3,000 and not knowing whether it's going to work out. We had clients day one, and basically I was just covering payroll while the revenue caught up. And we did something that I would consider to be the riskiest way to do it, which is day one, we had 2 full-time US-based employees. So, there's other people that can do that. But if there's no, like if you're pretty short on funds, or if you're on some type of budget, then I would probably not recommend doing that day one. Okay. Another question that came up was, what was a day in the life? How many hours was I working? Oh, cool. You just came across my channel. Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, feel free to look around. If you find another cool resource, feel free to let me know. But right now, I don't know of any. And the reason why I created the course in the first place was because, I had a great situation come out of this business. We were able to get like over 1,000 clients. We were able to sell for a bunch of money. And because of how much my life has changed as a result of this business, while also no one else talking about this business. No one talked about a call center. No one talks about, there's no courses on this. It's so different in terms of what gets marketed. I stumbled across it because I specifically had the need. So I realized that there were probably other people that would like to do a business like this. And so what I did was I created the course that I wish I had when I first was looking into this. And I didn't leave anything out at all. Okay. So let's see what else. So, okay, so another good question. How can you describe how to get clients? So there's a lot of different ways to market. Obviously it's a subject that you can talk about for forever. What we did initially was we were in a Facebook group and we did basically a pre-launch. And I really go over this in detail in the course, like all the different methods and stuff. But we did a pre-launch. And so we did an announcement saying, hey, we're going to be launching this soon. And then we got people on an email list. And we only had about 45 people on the email list when we launched. And day one, we landed 5 clients from that. And by the end of the first week, we had 10. So it was a very small list with a good return. I can't say that will be the same for everyone, but because the group we were in were people that clearly needed this type of service, which was the cleaning business space, it was clear that, again, there were people that could use the service, could utilize it, and we ended up being their solution. And hilariously, the very first person that signed up, like the first client that we ever got, I think it was 11 minutes after the email hit people's inboxes, he signed up. He was the guy that eventually bought Vicky Virtual from me almost 5 years later. So a pretty cool thing. And another cool thing, I also landed some clients through cold calling early on. And the very first cold call I made, like literally the very first dial, someone picked up, became a client, ended up being a great client, spent probably $25,000 with us. and he ended up buying my cleaning company. So the cleaning company was acquired in 2017 in like April, and the guys that signed up from my very first dial, selling Vicky Virtual, the answering service, that was the same exact person that ended up buying my cleaning company. So pretty cool. Um, at the start of your business, your clients were small business owners. All of the clients that we had were small business owners. So in this business model, you're serving, well, maybe there was some random entrepreneurs here and there, but even if you work for yourself, I guess, you're still sort of a sole proprietor, small business owner. So the business model itself, essentially what's happening is that you are answering calls on behalf of different small businesses. And there's a lot of times when you're a small business and you can get to the point where maybe you still have a day job, but every now and then people will try to call your cell phone or whatever with inquiries, and you can't answer it because you're at work. So rather than spending for a full-time like BA or a receptionist, just use a receptionist service that can make sure the call get answered so you don't lose that potential business and money. And so that's the service that we're providing. Very necessary. Just about every single business that take calls needs this service. So it's a giant market that clearly hasn't been captured yet. So we just figured out a way to do it. The email list was simple. Like, we did an announcement. We were in a Facebook group. We announced it, and then we offered them a way to get onto the email list. If you're interested, type in your email on this link, and they'll be on the email list. And all we did was we during the 2 month pre-launch process, while we were trying to get things together, get configured and launched, all we did was we just sent over a few updates about what we were working on. Like, oh, we just figured out our price, and oh, we just figured out what phone system we're going to use. And then when we got close, we set the launch date, and we said, hey, we're going to hit you up on this day. Sent a few reminder emails. And then on the day that we launched, January 1st, 2015, we sent an email, hey, we're live, we're open, we're ready to start serving you. So that's what happened. All right. Okay. So yeah, great questions, by the way. I hope that the answers were helpful so far. Give me just a moment. Okay, so let's see what else. So there's one other question that came up. Okay, blessings. Welcome to the call. Good to see you on here. And KZ, glad I could help. What do you recommend for creating an omni-channel type of call center? Any software recommendation? So it depends on exactly what you're trying to do. There's different contact center software that you can use. Regardless, I think if there's an emphasis on calls, then you can just use something like, and it depends on what your budget is too. But you can use something like what's a good EVS7? I think I've been hearing a lot about it lately. EVS7. I'll shut that on. I've been hearing a lot about it lately. We haven't used it, but pretty solid. 5.9 does omni-channel, but it's pretty expensive. You have to pay for different pieces. What I can say is that, excuse me, there's an implementation fee that generally happens on 5.9. It's $3,500. It's waived when you have the course. So there's no $3,500 charge. But if you do omni-channel, meaning like you're doing text messaging or other stuff, and you're trying to do it within 5.9, there's an additional setup fee for that is not waived. So, there's a bunch of different ones out there. It's not really difficult to figure out whether or not there's something that will work. It's just a matter of the reliability. So make sure in terms of reliability, it's not completely cloud based. Um, use something that sits on top of some type of data center. Five9, for instance, is one of those companies. Um, so KJ asked, did you use business cards when hunting for clients? I had business cards. I can't really remember how often I really handed them out. I like to have them because I thought it was cool, but it's definitely not going to be the difference between whether or not you're able to land clients. It really depends on how you want to go about it. If you're out and about and going to conferences or whatever and networking, then yeah, make sure you have business cards. Good to have on them. Okay. K blessings. What would you say is a rough estimate cost of getting everything set up in the type of business you have? I'm trying to figure out if it's lucrative compared to the startup cost for the business. Well, definitely lucrative. I mean, my business did millions of dollars, and the profits were in the 35%. So it's really difficult for that not to be justified. And my day one, I was in for $500. What I tell people that are going through the program outside the cost of the course, uh, outside the cost of the course, depending on what path you take. And in the course, there's a video where I go through 5 different potential launch paths, and they're based off of what your situation is, what your budget is. But the cheapest launch would have you in the hole $1,000 or less, maybe even like $200-300 if you build your own website. And then I would say the most expensive, while also being reasonable, because you could spend $100,000 if you really wanted to. I'm not quite sure how, but I guess you could. But probably in the $7,000 to $10,000 range. I was in the most I was ever in was $3,500. That was 2 months in. And that was because we were covering some payroll for our employees when we first got started. And we didn't quite have the revenue to justify it. We broke even after month 2, though, and we started being able to pay ourselves back. So by month 4, I was paid back and in the green. And by the end of the first year, we had a 6-figure company. So, okay, KJ asked, how long does it take to complete your course? So the course is self-paced. It's about 75 videos. I've seen some people go through all of it. I've seen some people go through, 33% of it and just take the pieces that like fill in the gap that they need. But, I've seen the most dedicated people cram through the whole thing in a weekend. And what some people will do is they'll go through it real quick just so they understand everything. And then they'll go through it slowly a second time. Because it is a lot of information. I really don't leave anything out at all. And I get very specific in terms of nuts and bolts. I talk about call center software. I go into technical terms. I talk about the hierarchy of what your company will look like. I do, a whole thing on, being able to financially forecast your business, everything. So, you can get through it in a weekend. It's about 8 solid hours of video. Okay. KJ asked, were there ever any issues with getting paid from your clients in the beginning? No. I did what I do with every single business I ever have, which is the only way that people can ever pay me is through a card. When someone signs up, they use a card, and then after the trial, we charge them. And we charge them at the start of the month, and then going into the next month on that billing cycle date, we charge them again. So there was never, even when we had thousands of clients, there was never a significant accounts receivable department because we were never dealing with checks ever. It's just not worth it. And frankly, if you look at the competitors in the space, they're not taking checks either. Okay. All right. So, K Blessings asked, does your course go over just having virtual receptionist services, or does it discuss how to set up other services as well? So the lion's share of the content is focused on starting a virtual receptionist company. Now, the nice thing is that once you set up a virtual receptionist company, and basically if you do everything that's in the course, adding texting or live chat or something is literally nothing. It's like a couple buttons and you're there. Um, my company, Vicky Virtual, that I sold, we did live chat as well as phone. Texting is something that, again, it's ridiculously easy. And the more beautiful thing, if we have a tribe community, which is our Facebook group, which is specifically for people that have purchased the course. And in that group, we do a separate weekly call, which I do uh, at 7:30 Central Time every single Wednesday. And so it's just a few of us each week. We hop on and we get really in depth. And so a lot of the people that have already launched, there's about 40 people that have launched the call center at this point, and there's probably around 20 that have hit at least the 6-figure mark. There's 2 that have hit the 7-figure mark directly from this program. But the point being is that they're chiming in with stuff that they're doing. Some of them are doing more. One of them doing like a whole VA company, virtual receptionist company, some texting stuff. Like they're doing like a robot thing. They're doing all kinds of stuff, and so you get a lot of value outside of that, as well as yeah, yeah. Vicky Virtual is yeah. I sold it. Again, we sold it over a bit over 2 years ago. The guy that purchased it is someone that's a good friend of mine. He had a multiple 8-figure construction company, which he still has, and he was looking for a way out of that construction company because it was tough work. Uh, and so, as far as I know, in 2020, Vicky Virtual grew an additional 40% from where like the size it was when he bought it. So it's a significant company that employs over 100 people. So yeah, it's still up and running. Casey, are your courses guaranteed? Um, by utilizing your program, does it train me with the knowledge to be able to open and run my company at a successful rate? I will never guarantee a program. And I think that anyone that would ever do that is a douchebag. The only way anything ever works is if you do everything that is there. Now, what I can say is that if you literally do everything in the course, you will have a launch virtual receptionist company. I'm not going to promise you that you'll have clients. I'm not going to promise you that you'll get enough clients to be profitable and successful. What I can say is that there have been, I think, roughly 150 students that have purchased the program, and none of them. Sorry, there was exactly one person that asked for a refund out of 150, which is in this space is pretty much unheard of. And the one person that asked for a refund actually ended up launching a virtual receptionist company anyway. So there is a 30-day money back guarantee though. And so there's a guarantee in that sense. If you don't like the information or you feel like the information is not impactful or helpful enough, you have 30 days to figure it out. And if that's the case, then you can just, ask for a refund within 30 days, and I'll happily, we'll happily do it, no questions asked. But we stand behind the information, and it's great stuff. So I want to make sure I sort of answered everything properly. Yeah. Okay. So I think that answers everything. So what I'm doing now, honestly, for the last 2 years, I've been sort of chilling out, right? I have this course, but even now, I've had it since January of last year, and I haven't really even run ads on it yet. I've been spending the last year and a half just sort of enjoying life and investing, and I've been doing a little bit of consulting as well in the call center space as well as in other spaces, and yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Oh, and we do have a staffing company now that is connected specifically to the course. There are people that go through the program and end up wanting to launch their call center, and some of them uh, don't want to pay for American workers. And so, one of the people that purchased the program, he's in Bosnia. He became my business partner on a staffing company, and what we do is we staff Eastern European specifically for people that are coming out of the program and launching the call center. So we've got a couple dozen full-time agents working for different call center cast student new companies now, which is pretty cool. But instead of the 50, like $2,500 or so that you'll pay a U.S. based person, you're paying $1,400 a month for full-time, perfect English, perfect infrastructure, hard work ethic people. Podcast. That's a good question. I do have an old podcast that is called the Worst Deal Ever podcast. And on that podcast, I need to do more episodes, but it's a pretty fun concept. What we do is we interview successful entrepreneurs on the worst business deal or failure they've ever had in a business sense. And we go in depth about it. We talk about, what it screwed up, what happened. And because I found that you really get the best learning from your failures, right? When everything's going right in business, of course, you can learn things as you're growing. But when you fail, that's when you really learn the real nuggets from a business sense and in a life sense as well. And nobody talks about failure in business. And so, that's the premise of the podcast. You can find it on Spotify. I think it's on like iTunes or something. I don't know. If you type it in, you'll find it. But it's pretty cool. All of the guests on there have been 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. So, we're talking about people that have some pretty cool stories. So it's good stuff. Yeah, I really do like that podcast, but I'm not passionate about podcasts at all. So I'll do an episode here and there. There's a guy that's really cool that I want to bring on soon, but I tried to be consistent. I just don't want to do it. Okay, so it's about 6:45. You guys got some good questions though, so I'm happy to stick around another 10 more minutes. We will be doing what's called our tribe call for the paid students in about 45 minutes. And so those are a Zoom call, so it gets a lot more involved. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, again, it's a pretty cool thing. Again, nobody really talked about this, but you know, I feel based off of a lot of data, I know, like I'm saying I feel, but really I know that the virtual receptionist space is really, in terms of market size, in its infancy. The answering services market in the US, and I've said this in a different YouTube video, but who knows if you've seen it, it's at about $3.1 billion at this point. And within that $3.1 billion space, there's about 13 to 1,400 different companies. And so what that means is that literally the average company in the virtual receptionist or answering service space does over $2.2 million in revenue. Every single one, in terms of the average, If you have an average size company in this space, you're doing $2.2 million. And so, some people worry about whether this is a saturated market or whether it's something that, too competitive to get into. I can assure you that when the average company in the space is still $2 million, it's not clogged up yet, right? Because, say you get a profit of, even if it was 20%, on a $2 million company, the average business owner in this space is making $400,000 a year profit. And so when that's the case, generally, if you look at what's a competitive market, it's basically like if the average business owners in the space is sort of struggling and, maybe making just enough to have a full-time income, let's say 60 grand or so, anything over 100, and you would say it's a pretty juicy space. Well, we can be assured that in this space, the average size business is profiting, probably $500,000 a year. In my business, it was a 35% profit margin, really closer to 40, but 35%. So on a $2 million company, it's $700,000 in profit. So there's a lot of space. And the larger point is that not a lot of people know what a virtual receptionist is. They know what an answering service is, but the virtual receptionist thing no one really knows about. And over the next 10 years to 15 years, this market's going to grow. And the reason it's going to grow is because more and more people are going to be made aware of this service. There's more people that are my age and younger that are starting small businesses and, running and becoming the heads of small businesses. And so, once it's, let's say 15, 20 years from now, maybe we'll be in a competitive market. The amount of people that have the ability to be a good target client will have already heard about this by the time you reach out to them. Right now, when you reach out to potential clients, there's a good amount of them that are like, oh, what's that? And then when you talk to them, they realize that it's something that they wonder why they haven't been using it, and they end up signing up. So it's sort of a gold rush right now. It's a beautiful time to be in this space. And so the time is now, course or not, outside of the fact that I have one, it really is a beautiful time to be in this space. 5 years from now, I can't say what the landscape's going to be. And definitely in, say, 15 years, it's going to be a completely different landscape from now. So if you've already got a stronghold at that point, you're in good shape. Okay. What kind of people would you recommend starting this type of business? Really anything. I was an already entrepreneur that sort of got this going, but the reality is now, since, again, I've had this for a year and a half and we got about 150 students, right? So now rather than saying what I did, I can just go based off of what they're doing. So, we just had someone with a full-time job. Literally last week, he quit his job to be able to work on this business full-time. He was, working for a home inspection company, okay? We've had people that are full-time. Maurice, I did an interview on him. He's now at about 35 clients and he still has a full-time job as a software developer. There's Madeline who was already an entrepreneur. She had a staffing company and she decided to stop the staffing company to continue to grow her now successful virtual receptionist company. There's people in different countries that are doing this. Most of the students that have been successful have been out of Canada and the US, but there's there's a guy in the Dominican Republic, there's people in Europe, there's a couple people out of Africa now, one in Australia that I know has launched. And so I don't think, and even in terms of the age ranges of stuff, there's women, men. I would say there's one guy, Andy, he's like 24 or 25, and now he's making more from his business that he started this year than he made from his job at Deloitte, which is a management consulting firm. So he makes more now in his business than he did. And then on the other end, There was a guy in the 60s that wasn't very tech savvy, and he was able to get along and get clients, and he just relies on his sales expertise. He didn't understand the tech, so the course and the tribe and all that helped with that. Uh, but he understood sales, and now he's able to have a business because of that. So it runs the gauntlet. End of the day, the only thing you're looking to do, uh, and you don't need the course to know this. The only thing you're looking to do is find businesses that need their calls answered that don't currently have a solution for it. And so just about every single business probably has some type of need to have calls answered. And so since we know that the majority of businesses do not have a solution for it, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. All right. So, yeah, the one sort of word of caution I would give on this: are you willing to answer questions off your live Q? Oh yeah, if you mean outside of the Q&A, feel free to find me on Facebook or something and just PM me or just email me. I'll type in my email address. Call. You can email that. Just email me directly. I'll answer whatever questions you've got. Um, and find a client that's oh yeah. So the only thing you have to do is you have to find a client that does not currently have their calls answered properly, right? That's all you're doing. And so it doesn't take a specific type of person to recognize that this is something that adds value to a small business. It's just a matter of getting in front of people and, getting your brand together, getting your company together, figuring out how to get your system together, getting your people hired, and positioning yourself so that, yes, if it's obviously something that they can use, this is why they should use you. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I hope this was helpful today. If you missed anything, you can feel free to. This is recorded and it will be made live, like the replay will be live as soon as I cut the stream off. So if you missed anything, you can come back and watch it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys being on here. And I'm here every single week. I'm probably going to miss some weeks. Well, I have missed some weeks here and there. That is my email address. That'll reach my. So feel free to email that directly, and I will answer. And then if you're on Facebook or something, I know some people aren't, but Donald T. Span. If you find me on there, I'm wearing a suit. You can just you can message me there, and I'll respond as well. It's a little quicker than email, but I'm pretty fast when it comes to email. So. Yeah, so I hope this was helpful. Does anyone have any final questions in the last, say, 90 seconds before I end this particular stream? You know what? There was one other question I said I would answer going into this that I haven't yet, which is how many agents did I start with and how did I determine I needed more? So that's a quick question. We started with 2 agents full time, US based. One with my partner's, my business partner's sister, who was just finishing high school. Oh yeah, no problem. And the second was a friend of mine, mom, who had sort of retired recently. She was 67 years old or something. And she was able to hop on the phone and do the dang thing. So those were our first 2 employees. And they were full time, $10 an hour day one. Um, pretty easy in the call center space to figure out when you need to hire more people. It's really based off of your bandwidth for taking calls. If you get to the point that you're starting to miss calls, well, time to hire more people. Um, you get a lot of data on the call center software when you're using it, and it's pretty easy to figure out if you're getting close to the agent bandwidth. So what I did was initially, just sort of like played it by ear, literally. But once we were a certain size, we could just go based off of the data. We knew exactly how many minutes a given agent could take. Uh, and once we essentially acquired more minutes, when we landed new clients and we knew what their minute usage would be, once they got to a certain number of minutes, we knew that, the bandwidth for a certain group of agents was approaching its limit, and we'd be able to hire based off of that. So it was less feeling it and more going based off of data. One more question. Were you able to tell what type of client did not have an answering service to take their calls already? If you're making cold calls, you sort of can. If someone picks up and they sound like some type of answering service, well, then yeah, they already have it. But the majority of the time, they won't. I think there's certain situations in certain industries where people are starting to catch on, but in the majority of cases, that's not the case. Uh, my computer bandwidth was being used up. I hope I didn't cut out too much. I hope that answer came through. But again, if you're making cold calls, you're able to tell. Usually, outside of that, it's sort of tough to tell. But honestly, it doesn't matter. You're gonna have to play the numbers game regardless. And the number of people that are using the answering service, some of them won't be happy, and it'll be an opportunity anyway. And they'll be the best leads because they already understand what it's like. They understand the process and what it entails. So you won't have to educate them a lot, and so it's an easy transition. And the ones that are using it and have determined that they aren't happy, they're being pretty good clients. Okay, so thanks a lot, and again, feel free to email me directly, and that's it. I'll see you guys later. And also, if you want, you can comment, outside of this video, and I can answer questions on that as well. So, see you guys next week, and I appreciate you.